On the day Lancelot got engaged, he deliberately hired a few hooligans to harass me. By the time I finished making the record at the police station and got home, it was already dark. When I got home, I heard someone asking where I had been. Lancelot smiled and said, "I was afraid that she would come to make a scene, so I let her stay at the police station for a whole day. By the time she comes back, everything will be settled." I stood outside the door, shook my head with a bitter smile. I blocked all of Lancelot's contact information and then turned around and boarded a plane heading abroad. That night, I heard that Lancelot couldn't find me. He, who had always been good-tempered, went crazy rarely. With his eyes bloodshot, he murmured, "She must be jealous and deliberately angry with me. She'll come back when she's over her anger. She surely will." But he didn't know that I wasn't running away out of anger with him. I really didn't want him anymore. It was already dark when I finished making the record at the police station. On the day Lancelot got engaged, I was so flustered that I had a car accident when turning a corner. The other party intended to make trouble, and it didn't end until now. Lancelot's phone was always unreachable. My WeChat moments were full of pictures of him and his fiancée. Each photo and every scene stabbed my eyes. I was so angry that the grievances and anger that had been suppressed for a day urgently needed an outlet, so I took a taxi directly to his home. The door was ajar, and there were noisy voices coming from inside. Lancelot would sometimes bring friends home to drink or watch football games. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I stopped when I heard them talking about me. "To be honest, we all thought you would be with Serafina. She grew up with you since childhood. She's really beautiful, but her temper is really bad too," Cyril said with regret. "She's been spoiled. She's been making a fuss for years. I don't even know if she's tired of it." Lancelot was sitting in the sofa, looking down at his watch, and impatience appeared on his handsome brows. Calculating the time, she should be here soon. She was bound to come to him crying and making a scene. Just thinking about it gave him a headache. "It's strange. You got engaged to Delilah. Wouldn't Serafina turn the world upside down? But I haven't seen her all day. Where did she go?" Cyril asked. Lancelot smiled and said, "I was afraid that she would come to make a scene, so I let her stay at the police station for a whole day. By the time she comes back, everything will be settled." "That's a brilliant move. The only one who can deal with Serafina is our Lancelot," Orion couldn't stop praising. "Lancelot, have you ever thought that if you got engaged to Delilah and Serafina was really heartbroken and left for good?" Cyril asked. The image of her tearful face flashed through Lancelot's mind, and he became irritable. Then he snorted coldly and said indifferently, "That would be just what I want. That was what I got in return for my 7 years of devotion." I withdrew my hand and turned around to leave. In early winter, it hadn't really gotten cold yet, but I felt cold from the inside out. After going around with Lancelot for all these years, we had quarrels and arguments, and I was the only one who stayed by his side. I thought we would be together in the end. But he designed to get me into the police station just to get engaged to someone else. How cheap must I be to let him humiliate me again and again like this? It started to rain. The weather forecast said that the temperature would drop in the second half of the night and it might snow. Once it started snowing in this coastal city, it would never seem to stop. In the past, I was most afraid of winter. Lancelot would wrap me up in his open coat, and there was always a blanket for me in his car. Now it seemed that those fragments of self-righteous happiness couldn't last until the end. The rain got heavier, and my loose hair stuck to my forehead. My steps were a bit unsteady. I shook my head with a bitter smile. How did things turn out like this? Suddenly, I didn't have the spirit I used to have. I felt that those disputes about love or not were like a joke. I tightened my half-wet coat, and an idea took root in my mind. I wanted to go to a warm place to stay. There would be no winter, no snow, and definitely no Lancelot there. I blocked all of Lancelot's contact information, including those of his friends. A strange number sent me a message. It was Delilah, Lancelot's fiancée. "Lancelot has already got engaged to me. You don't know how much he loves me. You'd better be sensible and leave to save some face for yourself. In the past, Lancelot was most annoyed by you. Every time after seeing you, he would give me a gift as compensation. I have everything you have, and I also have things you don't have. Don't bother him again, or I'll tell everyone that you seduced my fiancé. Delilah, that little assistant beside Lancelot who was always making mistakes. She was slender and delicate. Her eyes would turn red when she heard harsh words, just like a little kitten. Was Lancelot aware that she was so arrogant? She had set many obstacles for me, overtly and covertly. She poured wine on my haute couture dress and deliberately broke my diamond necklace. At that time, I thought she was a scheming green tea bitch, but Lancelot was so protective of her. Even if my tone was a bit harsh, Lancelot would jump out to defend her. What a pity for my clothes and jewelry. I made a fuss, and Lancelot would just say casually, "You have plenty of such things." What does a young girl who just entered society know? Don't deliberately make things difficult for Delilah. No matter how many I had, if others damaged them, they should compensate me. I entrusted this matter to a lawyer and asked him to get compensation from Delilah one by one. Then I took out my phone card and threw it into the trash can. You scumbag and bitch, I wish you two would be tied together for the rest of your lives. My parents came upstairs and saw that I was packing my luggage. Their eyes were full of worry. Seraphina, should you think about this again? That kid from the Lancelot family has gone too far. We'll go to the Lancelot family to demand an explanation right away. My relationship with Lancelot had been tacitly approved by both families. Our family backgrounds were similar, and we grew up together since childhood. There couldn't be a more suitable relationship where we knew each other inside out. Mom and Dad, if you still want to save some face for me, don't go. Isn't it good for me to go abroad to help my brother with his business? You've always wanted me to gain some experience before. My parents were very surprised that I could say this. After all, I used to be so lovesick that I had been chasing after Lancelot everywhere since high school. Aren't you just being angry? Mom asked carefully. I hugged them tightly and said firmly, I used to be too much trouble, but I won't be like that anymore. My parents had the same expectations for me as for my brother. It was me who was too naive, willful, and stubborn and mistook Lancelot for my whole world. All right, all the children in our Seraphina family are excellent. If you've made up your mind, just go ahead. If you get into trouble, Dad will take care of it for you. I answered with a choked voice. I then turned around and boarded a plane heading abroad. Everything in the coastal city had become a thing of the past for me. That night, Lancelot had been waiting for Seraphina or her phone call. He thought that if she called again, he would be kind enough to answer it. Even if she cried and pestered him, he would endure it. However, there was nothing. This feeling was like a kite with its string broken, which made his heart feel flustered. Lancelot, I really can't hold on any longer. I have to go to sleep first. Orion was so sleepy that he could hardly keep his eyes open. After accompanying Lancelot drinking for the whole night, he felt that Lancelot was more and more absent-minded as time went by. Delilah called and asked gently about his well-being. Lancelot, aren't you asleep yet? I miss you so much. I want to come and see you. Lancelot held the wine glass and refused. Orion and the others are drinking with me. This is my last single night party. Be good, listen to me, and go to sleep first. Delilah acted coquettish for a while and then hung up the phone awkwardly. Orion leaned close to Cyril and whispered, What's wrong with Lancelot? It's the first time I've heard that an engaged person is still having a single night party. Cyril twirled the wine glass in his hand and sighed deeply. What single night party? He's waiting for someone. Can't you see it's so obvious? According to the past, with Seraphina's temper, she would have rushed over long ago. Since she hadn't come by now, things were not looking good. Should I call Seraphina and ask where she is? Cyril said. Lancelot got up and went to the window and didn't refuse. Do as you like. Cyril first called the police station and was told that Seraphina had left when it got dark. Seraphina's phone couldn't be reached either. When Lancelot called, he found that he had been blocked, along with Cyril, Orion, and the others. Lancelot, it seems that Seraphina is really angry this time, Orion said. Serafina is not the kind of person who would keep quiet. Could she be serious this time? You got her into the police station and got engaged to someone else. You've gone too far. Cyril had wanted to say this all night and finally said it. Cyril and the others also helped to call Serafina's friends, but there was no news of her. Lancelot, who had always been good-tempered, went crazy rarely. He kicked over the coffee table, smashed the wine bottles, and the broken glass was all over the floor. He had never thought that Serafina would leave. She was like a little tail, following him and pestering him. They had been together for so many years, and both families had already given their tacit approval. As for Delilah, the more she was bullied, the more he would protect her. In the end, he couldn't figure out what kind of feelings he had. With his eyes bloodshot, he murmured, "She must be jealous and deliberately angry with me. She'll come back when she's over her anger. She surely will." In the past, before Delilah came along, she had also quarreled and made a fuss. As long as he patiently coaxed her, she would forgive him and be even nicer to him than before. But he didn't know that Serafina wasn't running away out of anger with him. She really didn't want him anymore. After a long journey, I took a whole night's flight. After getting off the plane, it wasn't my brother who came to pick me up, but Atlas, my brother's best friend. I heard that he grew up with my brother since childhood and they were as close as wearing the same pair of pants. There were even rumors that his relationship with my brother was ambiguous and that he secretly had a crush on my brother. So I was a bit cautious and smiled at him politely. "Long time no see, brother Atlas." He was tall and handsome, dressed casually in jeans and a t-shirt, looking free and easy. The bright smile on his face was as warm as the climate here. "Your brother has gone to another city on business temporarily. He asked me to come and pick you up." He reached out to take my suitcase and patted it. "Get in? I'm not a kid anymore." Atlas was 5 years older than me. In the past, when he often came to play at home, he liked to pull me around the house with my suitcase. He whistled, threw the luggage into the car, and took me to my residence. The average temperature here was 21 degrees Celsius, which was quite comfortable. His flashy red convertible sports car was playing music loudly. Looking at the scenery outside the window, the warm wind blew away all my tiredness and the chill that I brought from the coastal city. "I like this place. Your brother's house is being renovated recently. You can stay at my place for a few days first. The room has been cleaned up. It's the second room on the right upstairs, opposite my room." The room was in a good location. It had a large floor-to-ceiling window, but the decoration was really hard to describe. Pink was everywhere. It was definitely the aesthetic taste of a straight guy. I was extremely tired. I tidied it up a little and then lay down to catch up on some sleep. In my sleep, I went back to the day when I first met Lancelot in high school. He was leaning against the windowsill, reading a book with earphones on. The wind blew the trees outside the window, and along with it, his hair and the snow-white corners of his clothes fluttered. It was just like a scene from a movie. Girls were competing to see who would dare to confess their love first. Without thinking twice, I went up to him and said, "Lancelot, I like you." He looked up at me, and a mocking smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. "Serafina, are you an idiot?" I woke up immediately. I was so embarrassed even in the dream. I was really brave back then. I remembered that on the day I confessed, Lancelot just smiled mockingly and didn't say a word. Atlas' voice came from outside the door. "Serafina, are you an idiot? You've been sleeping for a whole day and night. Even a pig would lose to you in this regard. Get up and have dinner." The dinner was cooked by Atlas, and it was really good. He used to be quite famous. Once when he was not satisfied with the food in a restaurant, he just opened his own restaurant. When he liked playing the drums, he directly formed a band. When he liked stones, he went into the deep mountains and was finally rescued by the rescue team with a helicopter. He dropped out of college halfway through and suddenly took a break to go racing. There were countless other rebellious things like this. In the end, his family couldn't stand it anymore and sent him abroad for training. When he learned that my brother was here, he moved the branch office over. At that time, my parents and I were really worried that the only heir of the Serafina family would be ruined by him. But I was quite envious of him. Did he have no regrets in a life like this? Brother Atlas, what have you been busy with these years? I was very curious. Doing business, he didn't even lift his eyelids. By the way, what are you doing here? Learn to do business from my brother. It seemed that we were talking about a rather dull topic. He frowned and thought for a while, then said seriously, during the time when your brother is away, just learn from me first. I started learning to do business from a former playboy. As it turned out, you can't judge a book by its cover. People who were unreliable when they were young but suddenly got down to serious business when they grew up could be really tough. I started as a little assistant beside Atlas, basically just serving tea and water and making photocopies of documents. It was a bit of a waste of my fancy graduation diploma. The new girl in the secretary's office had very heavy makeup and wore a very low-cut dress. She snatched the coffee from my hand and took it into the president's office. President Atlas, here's your coffee. Atlas didn't even lift his eyelids. Before you spill coffee on me, I need to remind you that my suit and shoes together cost 230,000 yuan. They are handmade and took 3 months to make. Are you sure you can afford to pay for them if you ruin them? The girl silently withdrew her foot. When she put the coffee on the table, she deliberately bent down low. Atlas took out a handkerchief to cover his nose and mouth. Are you spraying poison? The smell is so strong that it's going to trigger my rhinitis. When she ran out of the president's office, her makeup was smeared from crying. I stood outside the door, wanting to laugh but not daring to, feeling rather helpless. Assistant Serafina, you did a good job in the university military training. I was startled and didn't know what to say. It's okay. Thank you for your praise, President Atlas. Since you can stand at attention so well, should I transfer you to the security department? No, no. Then come in quickly. I wanted to call my brother and ask what Atlas had been through these years. His mouth was so mean. Atlas was sitting with his legs crossed, his slender fingers tapping on the computer keyboard casually, his wise eyes fixed on the screen, and a faint smile on his thin lips. Did you write this quarterly report? I was very nervous. Yes, President Atlas. It's quite good, he nodded. I was overjoyed and quickly flattered him. Thank you, President Atlas. I'll keep working hard. He looked up at me. It's written like a dream of red mansions. Rewrite it. I want to see it before you get off work. My heart was broken. But giving up wasn't my style. It's just a report. A living person won't be held back by such a thing. Later, I kept writing until 10 o'clock at night. Still not done? I'm getting hungry waiting for you to finish. Atlas complained as he sat beside me. I felt really uncomfortable sitting on the leather chair in his president's office. An hour later, the meal he ordered arrived. Eat first and then write. I don't think you can finish it in a short while anyway, so it doesn't matter if you take a break. I really wished someone could poison him to make him mute. He was so annoying. It was already early morning when I got back. I washed up briefly and then fell asleep immediately. Recently, work had taken up almost all of my time. I hadn't dreamed for a long time. In the middle of my sleep, I vaguely heard the phone ringing. It was the lawyer I had entrusted before I went abroad. Miss Serafina, Delilah refuses to pay compensation. Mr. Lancelot has promised to pay for her, but only if you meet him in person. Now he wants to see me? I don't understand what he's up to. Do I lack money? Go and tell them that if they don't pay compensation, I'll sue Delilah for deliberately damaging other people's property and let them think carefully about what to do. After hanging up the phone, I was wide awake. So I got up to pour a glass of water downstairs and was startled when I saw the light in the dining room was still on. You scared me. I was really shocked. It was Atlas, sitting there working. Only people with a guilty conscience would be scared, I thought to myself. After pouring the water, I walked up to him. Hey, are you revising my quarterly report? Atlas shook his head and said helplessly, it's for the company's shareholders to see. I'm afraid they'll think the company is going to fail and have a heart attack from the shock. I really wanted to tear it up, but I had to bow my head under someone else's roof. Write it well. I'm going to bed first. When I turned around, I lost my balance. To my surprise, I ended up sitting on his lap. My lips brushed against his face. My upper body was pressed tightly against his chest. A man and a woman were alone in a room together, and the scene was a bit ambiguous. And the position where I sat was really inappropriate and too awkward. His eyes fell on my lips, and his chest heaved more noticeably. I could even hear his heartbeat and smell the fresh aftershave on him. Fortunately, the water didn't spill. I quickly found an excuse to stand up, but his hand was still on my waist. You can even fall on flat ground. I'm really impressed. He withdrew his hand, turned his head away, and randomly tapped on the computer keyboard with his fingers. Good night. Go to bed early. I'm going back to my room first. I hurriedly ran upstairs. I wasn't sure if it was just an illusion, but I always felt that there was a gaze fixed on me from behind. The next morning, Atlas went downstairs to have breakfast with a pair of panda eyes. President Atlas, didn't you work all night last night? I was a bit surprised. Was a report really that difficult for him? Just call me brother when we're at home. I lowered my head to have breakfast and couldn't help laughing when I saw how he looked. Atlas went to the company wearing sunglasses. In the pantry, everyone gathered around me to gossip. What's going on with President Atlas today? Maybe he just wanted to change his look, I made up an answer casually. Finally, it was a day off. Atlas said that he would play the host and take me for a good tour and taste some delicious food along the way. As soon as I got into his Maybach, my mobile phone showed a call from an unfamiliar number in China. Except for my parents, relatives, and the lawyer, no one knew my mobile phone number. I answered the phone, and Delilah's sobbing voice came through. Miss Serafina, I'm really sorry to bother you, but I really have no other way. I accidentally damaged your clothes and necklace before. I've apologized to you. Mr. Lancelot has already promised to pay for me. Can't you just be kind and let me go? Why do you still want to sue me? What you're doing will put Mr. Lancelot in a very difficult position. Is it just because he's not with you that you don't care about your friendship with him over the years? If that's the case, I'll leave, and Mr. Lancelot won't have to be in a dilemma anymore. I really wanted to swear. This green tea bitch was really addicted to acting. Atlas looked at me in surprise, and I could only smile awkwardly and hold back my anger. When he saw that I hung up the phone, he said politely, "The voiceover for this audiobook is really good. So affected and full of emotion." Yeah, I smiled bitterly. He thought for a while and couldn't help but complain, "Serafina, I'm not trying to criticize you, but you're already this old. Why are you still listening to these trashy romantic dramas? No wonder your report was written like that." I was too powerless to refute. Even Atlas could tell that she was a good actress, but that fool Lancelot only listened to her nonsense. As for Delilah, Lancelot used to protect her tightly. Why was it different this time? Asking me to meet him in person, was he still thinking about making me go back and continue to be tortured? What a brainless idiot. Atlas took me to a famous mountaintop restaurant in the local area. The car drove on the winding mountain road for 2 hours, and outside the window were all cliffs. When we got out of the car, the scenery was really beautiful, like a fairyland with mist lingering around. The owner came out with a smile and gave Atlas a warm hug. When he wanted to hug me later, Atlas blocked him. Eating in a place like this, what you eat doesn't matter much. The beautiful scenery alone can make you feel 7/10 full. Miss Sue, you're the first girl that Atlas has brought here, the owner whispered when serving the meal. I stared at him in surprise with my eyes wide open. Could he really have feelings for my brother? I looked quite similar to my brother. Every couple who comes to our restaurant can stick their photos there. That's the sacred tree of the mountain. With the blessing of the sacred mountain, you can be together forever. Atlas looked at me and smiled. Before I could dodge, he reached out his long arm and pulled me into his arms. Just like that, our close-up photo with our faces touching was stuck in the receiving the blessing of the sacred mountain. Seeing him smiling foolishly at the photo, I was thinking in my mind about how to explain that just because someone resembles another person doesn't mean they can replace them. Lancelot's sudden appearance caught me off guard. I was sitting in Atlas' yellow sports car and coming home from work. He was standing under the big oak tree on the opposite side of the road. He had a tall and straight figure and a cold and aloof temperament. Just in terms of appearance, he was really good looking. When he saw me getting out of the car, his body actually trembled a little. However, none of this mattered anymore. Before going abroad, I had already made up my mind to draw a clear line between myself and the people and things from the past. Just like the former Seraphina, who had been determined to like Lancelot and had made silly sacrifices for 7 years. Until it got dark, Lancelot didn't leave. I was sitting at the dining table and secretly glanced at the window a few times while eating noodles. Under the dim yellow streetlight, his figure looked particularly lonely. "Who's that guy? He looks like a door god." Atlas was wearing light-colored cotton and linen home clothes, holding a coffee cup in one hand and putting the other hand in his pocket. He stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window and struck a pose. Lancelot. I was quite worried that he would call the police out of impulse and make a big fuss. He exaggeratedly said, "Oh, obviously having heard of him before. So he's that brainless and daddy-troubling idiot from the Lancelot family." I was speechless. It was hard to imagine what he would say about me in front of my brother. He put down the cup in his hand and walked outside. "What are you doing?" "I don't like it when someone stands in front of my house and has designs on my things." His sudden overbearing CEO-style remarks left me confused. Did he mean me by my things? He frowned again and took a look at me and the noodles in the bowl, complaining, "Hurry up and eat. The noodles are getting mushy." I was in no mood to eat the noodles at all. I was just worried that he would go and fight with Lancelot. To my surprise, he even locked the door from the outside. I stood in front of the French window. Not daring to look openly, I secretly pulled the curtain to cover half of my face. I saw Atlas walk up to Lancelot, and they talked for a while. Lancelot glanced in my direction, looking rather desperate. Then he drove away. "What did you say to him?" I was extremely curious. Based on my understanding of Lancelot, he had come all this way to find me and had already swallowed his pride. How could he leave so easily? Atlas smiled innocently and walked upstairs as he said, "I just told him that you're pregnant now and need to rest quietly." Atlas. I grabbed a pillow from the sofa and threw it at him. It hit his slippers right on. This guy was really, really annoying. However, this also saved me a lot of trouble. Atlas had an appointment with clients in the evening. I just got out of the company after work when I ran into Lancelot again. "Have you had enough of running around like this?" He was really like a persistent ghost. I really wanted to slap him. "I thought you left so resolutely because you were throwing a tantrum and being petty with me on purpose. But it turns out you already found someone else." He strode forward, trying to grab my wrist, but I dodged sideways. "If you dare to touch me, the security guards will send you to the police station for a chat." Lancelot seemed to think of something. His eyes became a bit unfocused, and he lost his previous arrogance. "Seraphina, why are you making things difficult for Delilah? Do you know that the more domineering and willful you are, the more you're pushing me away?" Still for Delilah's sake. I couldn't wait to push him back into her arms right now. Just pay off that little debt for her. It's you who's making things difficult for her now. Besides, you're an engaged man. Don't think about all those unnecessary things all day long. I walked away directly and he followed behind. "You weren't like this before. You're still angry, right?" "I know I went a bit too far that day. I apologize to you." I was almost laughed out of anger. He thought this was just a game. Slapping someone and then giving them a sweet treat, with such clumsy tricks, how could he have controlled me for 7 years? "You'd better apologize to your fiancée. She called me and said you wouldn't pay off her debts. She's so pitiful." Lancelot paused in his steps. He probably didn't expect that Delilah, who was as gentle as a kitten, would contact me privately. "I did that just to force you to see me. We used to be so good together." I thought you would always be by my side. I stopped and looked at him, only finding him childish and ridiculous. Lancelot, stop pretending to be a devoted lover here. You clearly knew what I minded, but you challenged my bottom line again and again. It made you unhappy and also made me seem petty. Since you don't care, then forget it. I can forget you, and I believe you'll forget me soon too. That's it. Don't come to find me again. Just consider it as you leaving me some dignity. Lancelot didn't follow me anymore. In this country where it's like spring all year round, he felt like he was sinking deep into an icy sea, helplessly drowning. Her back gradually became blurry. Recently, he had always been thinking about the past. The high school and college days they had spent together. When Serafina was 17, her smile was brighter than the sun. When she confessed her love to him, his heart skipped a few beats. He didn't know when it started, but she became willful and mischievous, even being fussy about him talking to other girls. He began to feel annoyed and always contradicted her. Anyway, no matter what happened, she was always the one to apologize first. If she had made a fuss like before, he wouldn't be as desperate as he was now. Hearing her say so freely that she would forget him, he knew that the little tail who used to follow him would never come back again. My brother finally came back. In the past few years, we could only meet during the spring festival. I happily packed my luggage and went home with him. When we were about to part, Atlas stood at the door, looking a bit lonely in his eyes. In the car, my brother couldn't help asking, "What's going on between you and Lancelot?" "He not only went to our home to ask our parents about your whereabouts but also came to find me." "Nothing much. We just broke up." I smiled bitterly. I didn't mention that Lancelot had come to find me. If my brother knew about that, he would definitely be even angrier. "I heard that he hasn't been doing well recently. The Lancelot family doesn't recognize his fiancée. That woman, I don't know who instigated her, stupidly went to the media and openly challenged the Lancelot family. The Lancelot family's face has been completely lost. Now she seems to be accepted by the Lancelot family on the surface, but in fact, she's under house arrest and has no freedom at all. I'm afraid her life will be even harder in the future." Now Lancelot should have seen Delilah's true face, but it was too late. As for Delilah, everything was her own choice. As for Delilah, everything was her own choice. "Lancelot's parents have come to our parents several times, trying to make up for you too. Our parents refused, saying that our Serafina family's children can't always be wronged." My brother looked at me, and a look of heartache appeared in his eyes. "I don't know what was wrong with you back then that you fell for that Lancelot guy. Every time you came home crying after being wronged, our parents were extremely heartbroken, but you just couldn't let him go." Hearing him say that, I wished I could slap myself twice. "Brother, don't worry. I won't do that again in the future." My brother nodded with relief. "Just like when we were kids," he raised his hand and rubbed my hair. "What have you learned from your Atlas brother during this time?" It was like checking my homework. If I said things like serving tea and pouring water, photocopying documents, or having free meals at the company's expense, it would make me seem too useless. "Writing reports." My brother sneered. "I was the one who taught him how to write reports." I began to worry deeply. My brother, a mature and steady man, couldn't really be gay, could he? "Now that I'm back, you can also go back to the company. If you want to learn anything, I'll teach you step by step." Without thinking, I directly refused. "Brother, we should finish what we start. I've learned a lot from Atlas brother. Now that I've just got the hang of it, let me stay for a while longer." With Atlas under my watchful eyes, he wouldn't have a chance to get close to my brother. My brother's smile grew wider, and he sighed. "My willful and unruly sister has really grown up." The next day, Atlas moved into my brother's house. Atlas's house was attacked by wild boars and the house needs to be renovated. He'll live here during this period. Was it a coincidence or on purpose? Atlas could hardly suppress the smile on his lips. My brother was almost 30 and hadn't even found a girlfriend yet. I definitely couldn't let Atlas take the lead. "Okay, let Atlas brother live in the room opposite mine." Serafina was on guard. I didn't believe that I couldn't keep an eye on him 24 hours a day. It was almost the spring festival, and the three of us went back to our home country together. Atlas specially prepared a goose-down coat that reached my ankles for me, saying that he wore this brand when he climbed Mount Everest. I'm afraid of the cold and hardly go out. My brother was busy visiting relatives with our parents, so Atlas came to play with me. He had been forced to go on blind dates recently. As a result, without exception, he scared away all the girls as soon as he opened his mouth. Atlas brother, not to blame you or anything, but at your age, you should seriously find someone to settle down with, start a family and build a career. He nodded, threw down a card to play Zhang Xiaohuang and bombed my hair. No. He was so stubborn, threw down a string of phone numbers. I followed suit. What kind of girl do you like? If I come across a suitable one someday, I'll keep an eye out for you. He nodded and immediately countered with a bomb on me. How could we continue playing like this? I threw the cards aside and curled up on the sofa, ignoring him. With your attitude, how could any girl like you? I scolded him. He really didn't know how to cherish girls. Anyway, I'm not interested in them. He looked disdainful. Hearing that, I jumped up immediately. Previously, under my strict prevention and control, he seldom had the chance to contact my brother alone. I thought his feelings had faded. How come he still had ulterior motives? Even if you're interested in my brother, it won't work. Not to mention that my parents won't accept it, I'm the first one to oppose it. Atlas stared at me with his big eyes, and his eyelids even wrinkled into 3 layers. Why would I be interested in your brother? I'm interested in you. Our eyes met, and time seemed to stand still. It turned out that there was no one else like you in my heart. I was the one. I was really embarrassed, and my heart was beating a bit faster. Don't you feel anything at all? He looked at me expectantly. I thought about it carefully. His meticulous care for me had been mistaken for loving me because he loved someone related to me. If I told the truth, would he chase after me and scold me? Just when I didn't know how to answer, my mobile phone rang. I answered it without looking at who it was. Serafina, Lancelot drank so much that he got a perforated stomach. He's in the hospital now. Could you come and see him? Cyril's voice came, and Atlas heard it too. He won't cooperate with the treatment. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered you. You've got the wrong number. If he's sick, he should see a doctor. I hung up the phone. I should have known it was him and not answered it. Atlas asked tentatively, "You're not going?" "None of your business." I gave him a glare. He looked rather smug and deliberately pretended to be disappointed. What a pity. Otherwise, you would immediately experience what it means that when your ex dies early, your current partner will be even better. Stop talking nonsense. I haven't agreed to be with you yet. I chased after him to hit him, but slipped on the playing cards under my feet and fell right onto him. This reminded me of that kiss that couldn't really be called a kiss last time. The next day, he went to work with panda eyes. Could it be that he was so excited that he didn't sleep all night? He held me tightly and became even more cocky. Your mouth didn't say anything, but your actions told me that you're already head over heels in love with me and can't extricate yourself. I want to cut out your tongue. As a result, Atlas kissed me deeply. By the end of the kiss, my legs felt weak. We got together in a glorious way. During the spring festival, our 2 families sat together and had the New Year's Eve dinner. Atlas, who used to have a sharp tongue, started to say sweet words instead, and he kept pouring them out regardless of the occasion or the time. After my parents found out that his target wasn't my brother but me, their attitude towards this prospective son-in-law took a 180-degree turn. The most excited ones were Atlas's parents. Their son, who had been rebellious for half of his life, was thought to end up alone in old age. Unexpectedly, he found a wonderful wife. I received so many gifts that my hands were almost tired from accepting them. That year was truly fulfilling and rewarding. The only one who remained calm was my brother. When he looked at Atlas, there was a hint of scrutiny in his eyes like that of a family member of the bride. "Brother, when did you know that Atlas had feelings for me? Do you still remember the first time he came to our house? You were in primary school at that time." "What a brute. However, when I was a kid, my brother didn't even want to play with me. But as soon as Atlas came, he would pull me around the house with my suitcase and even let me ride on his back like a horse. On your 18th birthday, he prepared a gift for you. But you had a quarrel with Lancelot and locked yourself in the room and wouldn't come out, so he couldn't give it to you. What gift was it? I asked in surprise, and my heart had already started pounding. He found a stone in the forest. Actually, it was a meteorite. He promised to give you a star. I was just joking, but he took it seriously and almost lost his life. My heart was suddenly hit and countless ripples were stirred up inside. My brother patted me on the shoulder with a warm and gentle smile on his face. He had been waiting for you for many years. When he knew that you were going abroad, he begged me with tears streaming down his face to create opportunities for you too. What could I do? I could only reluctantly accept the task he handed over. You're so mean. Sure enough, the people around Atlas were no ordinary ones either. At midnight, we were bidding farewell to the old year and welcoming the new one. The most magnificent and beautiful fireworks in the coastal city were set off by Atlas for me. The gorgeous fireworks burst in the air, spelling out my name, and there was even an image of an arrow piercing through a heart behind it. It was a typical straight man's aesthetic. It was really difficult for me to praise him. I thought that was all at first, but later I realized that I had underestimated his imagination and creativity. As soon as the fireworks here finished exploding, thousands of drones took off over there. The drones formed different pictures, and each one was of the places that Atlas had been to. There were high mountains and deep seas. He was grinning, holding something in his hand and taking pictures in front of the camera. I knew that what he was holding was the star that he was going to give me when I was 18. The group of drones changed their formations and finally formed a sentence. I will take you to see the stars and the sea. Serafina, my love. Oh my, it was so embarrassing. But I was really touched. It took us less than a year from confirming our relationship to getting married. Atlas said that he had already waited for more than 10 years and that was long enough. Now he dreamed about how to marry me and take me home every night. On our wedding day, Lancelot's parents also came. Lancelot's mother held my hand with her eyes turning red. Serafina, it's our Lancelot family that has no good fortune. Later I learned that Delilah got rid of the people who were watching her and ran away. In order to take revenge on the Lancelot family, she betrayed the company's information to their rivals. Later, she stumbled into prison. The Lancelot family was also greatly weakened and was far less powerful than before. When Atlas and I were exchanging rings on the stage, I saw a person in the crowd who looked a lot like Lancelot. He was wearing a white shirt, just like on the day when I confessed my love to him. However, things had changed and people were no longer the same. I hoped that he would understand that once you missed something, it would be a lifetime's regret. People do change. No one will always stay where they were and follow behind you. Atlas put his arm around my waist and kissed me. When he pulled away, he gently bit my lip. Concentrate, my love. I blushed with embarrassment. Recently, he had been doing more and more cheesy things. After the wedding, we went straight to the airport. He was going to take me to see the stars and the sea, and the itinerary had already been booked. The elders of our two families were afraid that he would take me to some remote and dangerous places in the mountains or forests. They got together and studied the itinerary for several days. Only when they thought there was no problem did they give their consent. Serafina, pinch me. It seems like I'm dreaming. I leaned on his shoulder and gently kissed his cheek. Are you awake now? His eyes darkened as he kissed me on the lips again. He put his big hand on the back of my head and deepened the kiss. Serafina, do you know what I regret the most? I was out of breath from the kiss and shook my head. He had done so many things. How could he still have regrets? He looked at me affectionately. What I regret is that I didn't confess my love to you when you were 18. He sighed. If only I had been a bit braver. Then there would be no business for others. In the future, I will treat you twice as well and make up for the years we missed. I smiled and snuggled into his arms, thinking that happiness was nothing more than this. Life is like a vast ocean. Whoever you meet and whoever you miss, what remains is true love. Serafina, I've been working out recently. I'm in great shape. Don't worry. He whispered in my ear. I blushed. Who said he was a straight man? He was just a late bloomer.